Let's talk about the role of assessment in psychotherapy, especially at the beginning of a therapeutic relationship. A lot of graduate programs and a lot of agencies and clinics have a pretty extensive intake form that they need and expect to be filled out or to be conducted over the course of the first session, maybe two. Now, I understand why this information is important to therapists. It helps us understand what's happening with the client and position them in the context of their lives and their risk factors as well as their goals. I really understand the need for the information that can come from these kinds of assessments and intake processes. But I also acknowledge that clients require safety and trust in order to share their deepest, hardest, most vulnerable information. And when we put a form in front of them that asks them about their trauma and their addictions and their mental health history and their family of origin and their relationship issues and all the things that these intake forms tend to ask, and we haven't established trust yet, it makes me wonder what kind of example we're setting. We certainly wouldn't want them to answer questions like that from a person that they don't know in any other context. And so I really encourage you as a therapist to consider other ways that you can get the information that you need. I certainly understand that an intake and an assessment process is important, and client safety and autonomy and trust is even more important. So what does that look like? Well, it can look like you having a list of things that you need to ask about over the course of the first few sessions. And you can keep those in the back of your mind or next to you as you're having your conversations with clients. But you are leading with care, curiosity first, not an agenda to get the information that's on that paper. And so what that can look like is, you start with some really introductory questions and then you follow the client's lead. And so maybe you don't ask a question about addictions, for example, or substance use history. That feels really jarring to a new client. But maybe they're telling you about their stressful job or some life experiences that are really hard for them right now. And you ask, can you tell me a bit about what your coping strategies are? What's in place for you right now? How do you cope? Maybe they tell you some great things. So, I do yoga and I run and I talk to my best friend, and you give them all of the important validation for those things. And then you lean in and say, what about those, what you say, those are healthy. Those sound like some really healthy coping strategies. Are there any unhealthy coping strategies that help you? Maybe then you find out about substance use. And the way that you have found that out is in such an empathic and careful way that has shown them that they can trust you and that you have somehow earned that trust, as opposed to the trust coming simply from your role as psychotherapist. That's a very medicalized model. It's quite a pathologizing model. The idea that in order to get access to therapy with me, you need to tell me all the things that are hard. I don't think that that's the message that most people are trying to send, but that is the message that can be received when we're putting papers in front of people and we're establishing the goal of requiring a bunch of information before establishing the goal of establishing therapeutic rapport and trust. So maybe after the first session, you have 2 or 3 pieces of information. That's okay. Go back at it the next time in the context of exploring with your client and establishing a relationship with them. And maybe it's a few sessions before you have a fulsome idea of their history. I'll even go as far as saying this. It may take many sessions before they reveal their trauma or a really piece of their history that they feel really shameful about. And we want to let them tell us when they're ready and not put that agenda ahead of them. So I hope that feels supportive to you and take some pressure off you, to be honest, that really your job is to show up and make them feel safe and honor this space, as opposed to needing to get a whole bunch of information so that you can write a treatment plan after the first session. That isn't the most supportive thing for the client, and therefore probably not the most supportive thing to you. Hope that helps.